Hello, I'm Sierra Boggess from Love Never Dies, and this is Musical World TV.
Het was de meest besproken nieuwe musical van 2010. Love Never Dies van Andrew Lloyd Webber. Exclusief bij musicalworld.tv een interview met de hoofdrolspeelster. Niet te geloven. Sierra Boggess spreekt met ons. En niet vergeten, alleen op musicalworld.tv. Hello, Sierra.
Hi.
Nice to have us here in your dressing room. Your really cool dressing room.
That's right. It's nice.
That's a luxury here. You are a Denver girl.
That's right. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, with the mountains as my backyard. Lovely. And now here I am in the city.
Is Denver a cool place to be if you like musicals?
Absolutely. I saw, actually Sunset Boulevard was the first musical I saw. It was a touring production, and I saw it, they came through Denver. So that was my first taste of a Broadway scale musical. Nice that it was an Andrew Lloyd Webber piece as well, that sort of got me excited. And I just always grew up singing and always loved that. So I think that that's probably how I fell into loving musical theater and wanting to do that as my career.
A star, and you a wife, and isn't life a splendid thing?
You living there in the mile-high city, how do you attract the attention of West End icons like Andrew Lloyd Webber?
How do I attract that attention? I don't know. Auditioning, I suppose.
Oh. The traditional way.
The traditional way. I got to work with him in 2006. I auditioned for Phantom of the Opera.
Just like that. You
just
thought,
like that.
Why not try the role of roles, Christine Daae?
Right. That was a role I had always aspired to do. It's one of my dream roles. So when I was in school, I worked on, singing more soprano, and I also worked on my ballet training, and I made sure that I could go on point, because Christine has to do that. They don't necessarily have to in the productions, because it is rare to be able to go on point and then sing a high E flat. But I was like, no, if I'm going to play Christine one day, I'm going to do it all. So I worked really hard, and then, the opportunity came to audition for it years later. And I say all that because I think it's important that people realize that if you want something, then you just work really hard, and you do everything you possibly can in order to prepare yourself for one day maybe getting to have your dream come true.
Then you got the role, and I must confess I saw you in 2007 at the Venetian.
Did you? Wow!
Yes.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
That was a spectacular production of Phantom.
The emphasis on spectacular.
Yeah. It was so cool to be able to do Christine in that particular environment because of how they custom designed the theater for the show, and it was just such an incredible experience.
I must share my doubts I had then. Beautiful musicals, I could not match them with loud casino hotels.
Yeah, I definitely.
What do you think of that?
I agree with you. It was difficult to do a show with such lush, gorgeous music, such beautiful love story, and then walk out the door into casino and hear the sounds of that and all this. But I do think that it's a kind of interesting and lovely idea to bring that touch of class to a place like Las Vegas, which is getting classier, I think, by every year, in each hotel that's being built and all that stuff. It is nice, and the Venetian is one of the nicest hotels, I think, that's there, which is where obviously Phantom gets to play. So I like the idea of Andrew bringing that world of Phantom to a place like Las Vegas, and it's still running, which is amazing.
And for you, as a working actress, the show was over within 95 minutes.
Yes. For everybody else, that they sort of had a kind of a nice show, but for the Phantom, Christine, and Raoul, basically the parts that were cut out was everything that doesn't have to do with Christine, Raoul, and the Phantom. So our stuff is all still intact for the most part. So it's just like once the curtain was up, it was like I was shot out of a cannon and I was Christine for a solid 95 minutes,
Yes.
and then could breathe.
That you here, I should have known it all.
We're now in 2010, after 3 years. Did it help you to land the part in Love Never Dies? This experience in Vegas?
Absolutely, I think so. It is a different show, obviously, and she has grown up in such a period of time, and I think having played the first one, I can draw on that. You know, she was 18 in the first one, now she's 28, and so I can draw on what I would have felt like as an 18-year-old, I think, playing in that, you know, first Christine. But now there's so many different experiences that have happened to her that we don't know about, that we can sort of make up in that 10-year span that we haven't seen. So it is really fascinating as an actress to get to play a character 10 years on.
Were you curious about how the Phantom would continue after the ending?
Yeah, I for sure was. It's such a story that I really loved and sort of related to when I was doing the first Phantom. So carrying on with a story that you love so much, you do want to know. And I think what we've done with him and how Andrew has written, you know, what happens next, I think is really fascinating. I like to know that stuff. I like to think about, I'm the kind of person who wants to know what happens after the fairy tale has ended. You know, and some people don't want to know. They want to know that they live happily ever after and that's it. They don't want to delve into the psychological stuff that, you know, these characters may go through. So I think that's why some people would not be interested in a sequel, because they like it as to know, you know, as it is. But for me personally, I'm fascinated by how things sort of keep going.
That you admired the Phantom and was fantasizing about how those characters would go on. What do you think of Andrew Lloyd Webber's vision of how they went along after the end of the Phantom?
I guess I think I just sort of went with it, with what Andrew had done. I never had imagined that the Phantom would have gone to America. I thought that was pretty cool, and I think the core of it is still the same. The passion and the love story is still exactly the same. The very complicated love that's there. So it's not that out of left field, I don't think, for what Andrew has envisioned of what's happened. And the music is ultimately still the thing that binds Christine and the Phantom and the audience to the show. That's not changed. So I think it's really interesting and really cool how similar they can be. The main heart of the story is still the same, I think.
It can't be you. Suggest. How can this be?
I really was surprised by the 180-degree change within Raoul.
I really like the character of Raoul in this one. I think he's very fascinating.
He has one of the greatest songs, I must say.
Yes, he does. He absolutely does. And Joe Milson, who plays him, is one of the most extraordinary actors I've ever worked with before, and I feel like just being on stage with him, I learned so much. He's just incredible, and what he finds with this character that is terribly complex is really cool. I think what's happened, you know, Christine is carrying around this secret with her for 10 years, and what that does to her, and how she retreats, and how she can't be even honest with her husband. What that does to him, you know, it drives him to drink. The thing about this piece is everybody is guilty. Nobody is innocent. We are all, you know, victims, and we're all villains. I think Raoul gets a lot of the people like to hate Raoul and all this stuff, but he's I think more normal of the three of them. I mean, obviously the Phantom is genius, and Christine has this attraction to him, but Raoul is just a guy trying to go about his life. He married the woman that he loves, and then it didn't turn out what he thought it would be, because he can't give to her what the Phantom gives her, and he knows it. He's not extraordinary, and that's what she misses from him, and that would drive a person crazy, and he's not strong enough, I don't think, to... Good evening. Warming up.
Thank you.
So yeah, he drinks and he gambles, and he's not a very nice man, but he's... I just find it interesting, and I love that you did as well.
Come and meet a friend of mine.
Welcome to my world, my friend. I think he'd ought to be a little bit closer to the bridge, you know.
How is Andrew Lloyd Webber? I only know him from TV, the audition show.
Yeah.
He's very funny.
He is funny, and I love that you noticed that. He is. That's one of my favorite things about. I obviously know him personally now, which is nice. And it's because as a child and wanting to be in musical theater, he's this thing that you aspire to know, but you never actually imagine that you'll meet him one day, let alone, have dinners with him. And so that is one of my favorite things to know about him, is that he's so funny, and he doesn't take himself as seriously as people might think that he does, which makes for a nice relationship.
But as a creator / producer / businessman, how does he handle different points of views?
Really well, actually. He always would listen to me, and I have great respect for him. I think you don't become Andrew Lloyd Webber by not being able to be collaborative, and but I always find he always knows best, and even if you disagree at first, it always ends up being like, no, that's right, and it always comes out to be that, Andrew knows. He knows what he's doing.
Do you have to make sacrifices in your private life to always get through the part each night?
Yes, I absolutely always have made sacrifices in my personal life, because in order to be a leading lady of a West End show or a Broadway show, you have to put your show first, and it's a sacrifice that I'm always willing to make, and I'm aware that I do that when I take on a role of this magnitude. What Andrew has written is essentially an opera, and in the opera world you only ever do 2 or 3 nights a week, whereas I am doing 8 shows a week.
Yes.
And it's crazy to know that the human body can endure quite a bit, so that I can get through 8 shows it's great to know I can, but that means not going out after a show, and never ever going out, especially when I have 2 shows the next day. And being careful during the day, and not being too dangerous, I guess. But I have a great life, so I feel like I've just sort of incorporated the fact that you do make little sacrifices just as part of Sierra's life.
Yeah. Because here at the Strand, we're surrounded by bars.
Yes.
And people having fun, especially at on Friday afternoons. Aren't you tempted to join the gang?
I'm not, actually. It's nice, though. My dressing room has great windows that overlook everything, and before I go on stage I can hear people having a great time, and I love it. It's nice. It's like, part of me feels like I do take part, just because I hear everybody having a good old time outside, so it's like, have a great time, and I go have an amazing time. I have a ball when I'm on stage. It is so much fun. It's never the same show, and it's just like, it's just great. So in my own little way, I have just as much fun as these people outside that I get to hear everybody. Come to Love Never Dies at the Adelphi Theater. If you're interested at all in love, and the most beautiful love story I think that Andrew has ever written, the most beautiful music, and amazing talented cast that I am so lucky and privileged to work with every night, it'll just take you on a journey like no other show.